Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Have something to share with you today that's been in the news, or at least being released by a certain private institution that has a lot of control when it comes to money, supply, inflation, and other things. This is something that we have been talking about for a while, and I'm telling you, it has to do with the digital this, okay? This isn't specifically that, but it's definitely it's being called a stepping stone. Here's an article today referring to it as a stepping stone, and what we're talking about is the new Fed Now program, and that is being talked about quite extensively today. And so we want to get into that here in just a minute. I do want to mention that if you are still trying to stock up, especially for those of you that are needing to stock up like in a quick manner, you're just getting started, maybe you need 6 months food and you need it, you feel like you need it right now, check out the link below with my Patriot Supply. It's a way that you can stock up pretty fast, or even if you have a good supply, just to have a little bit of it on the side, because having some emergency freeze-dried food is a good plan, folks. I know it's not for everyone, and a lot of you will say, well, I can stock up on my own cheaper. That's fine, and that's true. But for those of you that are wanting to not have to do all the driving around and wasting all the gas going from store to store, and you're just willing to make one big purchase, or maybe a couple of big purchases, and get all that you need, this is a good place to do it. So My Patriot Supply, there's a link down in the description below. So what we're talking about here with this Fed Now program, and a lot of you probably don't know what it is. It's just not something that's been talked about. This is it's basically the digital infrastructure that is being set up so that digital these can become a reality. Many of you are familiar and have talked about the EO that is coming up this December. I've been talking to you in the last last week or two, and including yesterday, about how many of these banks and nations, global entities, and billionaires are taking money out of the bank, taking their gold out of depositories and banks and vaults, and well, they're doing something with it. They're putting it somewhere because it's all being removed, and a lot of it, massive amounts, all over the world of gold is being taken out of banks, and no one really knows where it's going. I'm sure it's going into some private vaults because I think they see what's happening. There's been all kinds of talk about this, and I know that there's some naysayers out there. There's some people that just don't think that it's ever going to happen, or that if it does happen, it may not be as big a deal as we think. I would argue the opposite. I believe that it is going to happen. They've been talking about it for years. They've been saying they're going to do it. They've been talking about it leading up in the last few months that it's going to happen, and they're going to do it. This is part of the World Economic Forum's plan, the Great Reset plan, the Agenda 2030 plan, to get as many nations as possible on this global digital currency system. And so I suspect we're going to see that happen here. This program or infrastructure, digital infrastructure that the Fed has created, is set to be released, at least on a soft release, this month, or the month of September, sometime in the middle of September. And it's going to be released just to kind of test it out into a few of the institutions, banks and stuff that signed up to kind of, I guess, beta test it. And then from there, they will open it up fully, they claim, by next May. This system is what will be used to move around the digital this. Okay, so it is happening. I don't know how any other way to say it. I know many of you could say, oh well, they're just going to do this and nothing else. No, they've been pretty clear. This stuff has not been, maybe we could have, this is a pipe dream. This is something that they've been very clear that they're wanting to do it. And a lot of people keep saying, well, maybe if the Republicans get into office, they'll stop this. Actually, the Republicans have not been against this at all. In fact, they've been for it also. They've just been arguing over the details of doing this. And if the Congress even has any power to have any say-so over the Federal Reserve, which is not a government institution. It is a private company, private organization. So it's quite interesting. I wanted to show you a clip here, and this was from this morning. This is the vice chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank, basically announcing that this is going to happen, and it's going to start here in September, here in a couple of weeks. So here, listen up to this.
I'm pleased to join you at the FedNow Early Adopter Workshop. With the technical testing phase of the FedNow service kicking off in mid-September, I want to particularly thank you, the early adopters, for the important investments you're making to prepare for the day when the FedNow service goes live. Together, we'll be ready to launch the FedNow service between May and July of 2023, bringing this innovative core instant payments infrastructure to financial institutions of every size across America.
That's from her own words. This little speech goes on for 5 or 6 minutes, and she uses a lot of keywords that are very familiar with Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, talking about stakeholders and their partners. And it's like dystopian with nice little sweet icing and a cherry on top kind of talk. But it's very easy to hear the right words that they are saying, that this kind of stuff's coming. Folks, I've been talking about this for a while, and I will continue to talk about this further. This is a very serious thing, okay? Whether or not, what you think about it, maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong about how intrusive it will be or not. But one thing that is certain, it will be a drastic change to our economy. We're already dealing with a very unstable and constantly weakening economy. Some numbers just came out on rent. Let me show you these. The average 2-bedroom rental property in the United States now is $2,100. $2,100. It's gone up almost 40% over last year. I mean, this is just one thing. Food went up 13% just last month in grocery stores. This kind of stuff is happening on a pretty regular basis, and it's getting pretty difficult for myself to kind of discount it, and I'm sure many of you are the same way. I don't know how it is that so many people are still kind of the doubting Thomas, the non-believers of thinking that all of this is just going to go away, and to think that the new digital isn't going to happen, or isn't a big deal, or it's not going to affect us. It absolutely is going to affect us. And I believe fully, because of the research I've done, they're doing everything they can, crossing all their T's and dotting their I's, to do it in a way that'll make it difficult and nearly impossible for you to avoid that. I'm working on connections and advice from much more knowledgeable people than I am, so that I can, in the very near future, present to you some real possible options of what you can do. Because just saying that, I'll opt out, or I'll just barter and trade for everything, is only going to get you so far. And so we need to start working on real plans and getting really ready. I can tell you this, and this is not advice, okay? Don't take this as advice, because I don't like giving advice, because what works for me may not work for you. But I will tell you what we're doing here in our homestead. My wife and I have been talking about this for the last couple of weeks, and while prepping, preparedness, getting our homestead ready, regardless of what it is, whether it's food and tools and supplies, or whatever you do on a homestead, okay, to get yourself ready and to make it more self-sufficient. Whatever we've been doing in the past, we are kicking it into high gear, to the point that we've made a pretty serious agreement that over the next few months, for the most part, all of our money is going to either pay bills, or do things, or buy things, or whatever we need to do to help us become more self-sufficient and prepared. If it doesn't pass the smell test on those two things, there's a good chance that we're not spending our time and money on it. Not saying that we're not doing things for ourselves or for our family and focusing on that, but it needs to have a productive value to it, because right now I think we're getting into crunch time. Once this thing, the digital thing, once that gets into play, it's going to change our worlds forever, and it's going to make preparedness, personal defense, things like that nearly impossible. Folks, this is some serious stuff that they're talking about, and they're doing it while the news media and the politicians are just kind of oblivious. They're doing a real good job distracting everyone with all this other stuff, calling people semi-fascists and all that kind of stuff, and flying into some other country's airspace and on and on. They're doing a real good job of distracting everyone from the things that are really going on that will absolutely turn upside down our whole world. So be aware of that, folks. And this whole Fed Now thing, it's happening. I mean, it's not maybe going to happen. They're doing the soft launch, the beta test here in a couple of weeks, and depending on how that goes, they'll be implementing it soon. And they are very clear that when they talk about this isn't just for institutions. This isn't just for banks. They very specifically mention in this talk that it's for small businesses, it's for private households. This will make, when you pay a bill or anything like that, or make a purchase, that it's instantaneous. Meaning that if you're making a purchase on a debit card or something like that, and you may not have the money in the bank in that moment, and you try to run to the bank and catch it, not going to work. It has to be instant, and that's what this is about. And it's going to change. I mean, there's benefits. You can send money all over the world and it be instantly. But there's definitely going to be some downsides to having much more intrusive technology in our lives. So this is, by all means, a serious thing to get our houses in order and get ourselves prepared and take things seriously, because they're moving the goalposts again, folks. I mean, it's one more big step, and this is a big one, probably the biggest one yet. Into the direction of establishing a digital, a DD, because that's what they want. They want that because it's absolute control. I mean, they want to bring about the beast system, and they want it really bad. And I have a feeling they're going to do it. Folks, get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.